Right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into a pretty significant date, March 24th, 1958. Picture this. Elvis Presley, at the absolute height of his fame, I mean, global phenomenon doesn't even begin to cover it. And on this day, he decides to trade his blue suede shoes for army boots.
It's wild, isn't it? I mean, can you imagine the world literally stopping its collective groove? Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, joining the U.S. Army. It was a moment that sent ripples through music, pop culture, everything. And that's what we're going to dig into today. What happened when the Heartbreak Hotel well met the very real world of military service?
It's a fascinating story for sure. We're going to set the scene in Memphis, Tennessee on that very morning and try to unpack what it all meant. Remember, this is 1958. Elvis has already taken the world by storm. His music is revolutionary. His movies are breaking records. And then, bam, this curveball. Elvis is going to be a soldier. You got to think some people were heartbroken, others maybe a little bit curious. We're even going to look at his arrival at the draft board that morning, a very different kind of stage for the king.
You know, to really wrap your head around all this, you have to understand just how powerful Elvis Mania was in 1958. This wasn't just a popular singer, this was a force of nature. He was reshaping youth culture, challenging the status quo with every note he sang, every move he made. His music was dominating the charts, his films were box office gold. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? His style, his energy, it rubbed some people the wrong way.
Oh, absolutely. There was a definite clash, a generational divide, you could say. On one hand, you had this incredible energy, this new sound that was electrifying young people. And on the other, you had a more traditional crowd who saw Elvis as a bit too rebellious, a little too provocative. But running parallel to all of this was something that affected so many young men back then, the draft. 1958, the Cold War was looming large, and military service was just part of life for a lot of young guys. And guess what? Fame and fortune didn't get you a free pass. Even Elvis, with all his stardom, he wasn't exempt. Those initial deferments, they only lasted so long, and eventually, this day, his induction, it became unavoidable.
It's what makes this whole thing so interesting. You have this kaleidoscope of public reaction. Imagine being one of those devoted fans, heartsick at the thought of their idol going silent. And then on the flip side, you have the critics, some of them maybe even breathing a sigh of relief, thinking maybe this will tone him down a bit. Maybe the army will make him, more palatable to the masses. It's a real testament to the complex, sometimes contradictory feelings that Elvis stirred up.
So, okay, let's transport ourselves back to March 24th, 1958. It's early morning in Memphis, and there's already a buzz in the air. A crowd has gathered outside the local draft board at 397 Whitehaven Street. Think about that for a second. What was it about this event that drew people out so early? Was it pure fandom, just wanting to catch a glimpse of their hero? Or was there something more at play? Was there a sense that they were witnessing history in the making?
I'd say it was a potent cocktail of both. You have those diehard fans for sure, the ones who just couldn't miss seeing Elvis maybe for the last time in a while. But there's also this underlying current, this awareness that something big was happening. This was Elvis Presley, this larger-than-life figure stepping into a role that defined ordinary life for so many young American men. It was a cultural collision, a moment that transcended music and celebrity.
And then at precisely 6:35 a.m., a black limousine pulls up, and out steps Elvis Presley. Reports from that day describe him as surprisingly composed, which is incredible when you consider the absolute media frenzy surrounding him. Cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. It must have been a whirlwind.
Keep in mind, he wasn't alone. He arrived with about a dozen other young men, all on the cusp of the same journey. Imagine that for a moment. These guys on this incredibly significant day in their own lives, about to take the oath for military service, and they find themselves standing shoulder to shoulder with Elvis Presley, a global icon. What was going through their minds? Were they starstruck? Did they treat him like just another recruit? Or was there this unspoken acknowledgement that they were in the presence of someone truly extraordinary?
Yeah, it must have been surreal, a real clash of realities. These young men, their lives about to change forever, and in walks Elvis, whose life was already unlike anything anyone had ever seen. And then came the real nitty-gritty. The processing, the physical examinations, the endless paperwork, the same routine for every new recruit. We might not have specific stories from those initial moments, but just the image of Elvis going through all that, just like everyone else, it really underscores the leveling effect of the military, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. Here you have a man who could command the attention of millions. Suddenly he's just another guy in line filling out forms. It really makes you think, did his presence there add to the pressure for those other recruits, or did everyone try to maintain a sense of normalcy in the midst of all the craziness? It's a fascinating dynamic to consider.
Okay, so the big question, what happened next? What did Elvis trading his blue suede shoes for army boots actually mean for his career? I mean, at that point, he was unstoppable. What did his absence do to the music scene?
There's no doubt it created a vacuum. At a time when Elvis was pumping out hit after hit and his influence was just massive, his sudden departure had a huge impact. New releases were put on hold, film projects stalled. It definitely opened doors for other artists, but there was this Elvis-shaped hole that nobody could quite fill. It's interesting to think that maybe that silence, that absence, it just made the anticipation for his return even greater.
And then there's his time in the service itself, basic training at Fort Chaffee and later his deployment to Germany. What's remarkable is that, by all accounts, Elvis really tried to blend in to just be another soldier. Why do you think that was so important to him, and how did it affect the way people saw him?
I think it speaks to a very human desire. He was craving a bit of normalcy, maybe a chance to step out of the spotlight and experience something more down to earth. And from what we know, he really embraced it. He integrated into his unit, he did his duty, he didn't ask for special treatment. It was this unexpected humility that probably earned him a whole new kind of respect, both within the Army and with folks who might have seen him as just a flashy celebrity before.
Because when he did come back, it felt different. That rebellious rock and roll image, it had softened somewhat. How do you see his military service shaping his career in the years that followed? Did it change his music, his choice of roles in films?
If you look at the bigger picture, his music definitely evolved after the Army. He didn't abandon rock and roll, of course, but there was a shift, a move toward a more mature sound in some of his work. And his film roles, yeah, they took on a different flavor too. It's tough to draw a straight line between cause and effect, but it's safe to say that those 2 years in the Army, they definitely played a part in shaping his public persona and the choices he made. It probably broadened his appeal, made him relatable to a wider audience.
Looking back now, all these years later, it's clear that this period in Elvis's life, it wasn't just a blip on the radar. It was a defining chapter in his story. It's fascinating how something as seemingly routine as military service became so central to his legend.
It really highlights the unexpected twists and turns of life, doesn't it? How even events that seem completely outside of our control can end up shaping us, influencing our path in ways we never could have imagined. It makes you wonder, did seeing Elvis in uniform, did that make him more human in the eyes of the public? Did it bridge the gap between this untouchable icon and the everyday American experience?
That's a great question. And it leads us to another one for you, our listener. As we mark another anniversary of this pivotal day in Elvis Presley's life, what do you think was the most significant outcome of his decision to serve in the Army? Did it change the course of his music? Did it redefine his image? Or did it have an even deeper impact on American culture as a whole? It's something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Elvis and the Army.
It was a fascinating time, wasn't it?
Absolutely.